This little piece of clay is packed full of information from 4,200 years ago. The language of the inscription is Sumerian, is the oldest written language. This script is already 1,000 years old.
Every era leaves behind fragments, bits of clay, faded words, and broken myths, waiting for someone patient enough to read their silence. In the 20th century, one man dedicated his life to doing just that. He wasn't chasing fame, and he certainly wasn't chasing conspiracies. He was chasing truth, the kind that hides in the dust of ruins and the edges of half-erased tablets. His name was Samuel Noah Kramer, and long before social media and online theories, he was quietly rebuilding the lost world of the Sumerians, line by line. But decades after his death, a strange claim began circulating online that Kramer had revealed the truth before he died, confessing secrets that scholars supposedly kept hidden. It's a powerful headline, but is any of it real? Today, we're separating the man from the myth to see what Kramer actually discovered and why his name became the center of a modern legend. Samuel Noah Kramer stands as one of the most commanding figures in the study of the ancient Near East, a name that continues to echo in the corridors of history and archaeology. Born in 1897 in what was then the Russian Empire, modern-day Ukraine, his early life took a decisive turn when his family emigrated to Philadelphia in 1905. The young Kramer was drawn to the mysteries of the ancient world from an early age, immersing himself in Hebrew and related studies at Dropsy College before pursuing Oriental studies at the University of Pennsylvania. Under mentors deeply engaged with cuneiform and the languages of ancient Mesopotamia, Kramer's academic path began to unfold with precision and purpose. By 1929, his doctoral dissertation on the Nutsi texts marked the beginning of a lifelong dedication to the deciphering and interpretation of humanity's earliest written records. Kramer's early career was rooted in the field itself. He joined archaeological expeditions in Iraq, working at sites such as Tel Bila and Tel Farah, ancient Shuruppak, the city once said to have been visited by the Great Flood in Sumerian myth. In the heat and dust of these excavations, Kramer handled clay tablets that had lain buried for millennia, each one a silent witness to a civilization that predated the Egyptian pyramids. It was through these encounters that Kramer's reputation began to form. He became known not just as a translator of dead languages, but as a restorer of lost worlds. The Sumerians, the people whose words he revived, had invented writing itself, and through Kramer's work, their voices once again found resonance. Throughout the mid-20th century, Kramer rose to become one of the most authoritative voices in Assyriology and Sumerology. What set him apart was his unwavering dedication to accuracy and his ability to make the distant past accessible to modern audiences. His writing carried a clarity that drew readers in, yet never compromised scholarly rigor. Works such as History Begins at Sumer revealed the astonishing innovations of the Sumerians, the first laws, the first schools, the first poems, and the first recorded dreams. In his hands, these were not dusty relics, but living testaments to the dawn of civilization. By the time of his retirement in 1968, Kramer had already transformed the field. Yet, even after stepping away from formal teaching, he remained intellectually active until his death in Philadelphia in 1990. To grasp the depth of Kramer's impact, one must understand the nature of his contributions. He was not simply translating tablets. He was rescuing fragments of history that had been scattered across continents. Over centuries, Sumerian tablets had been unearthed by explorers, looted by traders, and dispersed into museum collections without context or connection. Many were mislabeled, broken, or left untranslated. Kramer had the patience and insight to identify pieces that once belonged together, reconstructing the ancient stories they told. It was as though he were reassembling the shattered memory of humanity itself. Each fragment he united restored another link in the chain of civilization. Equally vital was his precision in translation and editing. Kramer's command of Sumerian, Akkadian, and related languages allowed him to render texts with rare authenticity. He worked through myths, hymns, legal codes, personal letters, and school exercises, every form of record the Sumerians left behind. His editions of Sumerian texts from sites like Nippur and Istanbul remain benchmarks of scholarship. What emerges from his body of work is not just the voice of an ancient people, but the texture of their daily lives, their laws, their songs, their prayers, their fears, and their hopes. Through Kramer's translations, we see the Sumerians not as mythical figures but as fully human, grappling with morality, justice, and mortality thousands of years ago. Among his most celebrated works, History Begins at Sumer stands out for the audacity of its claim and the meticulousness of its evidence. In cataloging the firsts of recorded history, Kramer did more than list inventions. He revealed the very birth of human thought and organization. Similarly, the Sumerians, their history, culture, and character offered a sweeping view of their civilization, its political power, religious devotion, and cultural sophistication. The Sumerians were portrayed as pragmatic visionaries, inventors of cities, codifiers of law, and storytellers whose epics would later inspire tales like the Book of Genesis and the Epic of Gilgamesh. Kramer's scholarship made it clear that the roots of our modern world writing, schools, governance sprang from Sumerian soil. What defined Kramer above all was his unwavering commitment to scholarship, not speculation. At a time when popular culture increasingly drifted toward sensationalism, connecting ancient civilizations with extraterrestrials or lost continents, Kramer held fast to evidence and method. His conclusions were drawn from painstaking linguistic analysis, archaeological context, and comparative study, not fantasy. He never sought to turn Sumer into a mystical origin of secret knowledge, but rather to illuminate it as the birthplace of organized human civilization. For this reason, his works are still cited across academic fields as foundational texts, models of intellectual discipline, and respect for ancient sources. Kramer's legacy endures in the quiet awe his discoveries still inspire. Each cuneiform line he translated peeled back another layer of time, revealing the earliest reflections of human consciousness. The Sumerians, once forgotten under the sands of Iraq, spoke again through his hands, telling of their gods, their kings, their dreams, and their daily struggles. For American audiences encountering these revelations through Kramer's publications, it was as though the curtain of prehistory had been drawn aside to reveal the first act of civilization itself. His career reminds us that the most profound mysteries of the human story are not hidden in fantasy or myth, but in the meticulous work of those who listen carefully to the voices of the past. In the end, Samuel Noah Kramer was not only a scholar of ancient texts, he was a restorer of memory. His devotion brought coherence to fragments that might otherwise have remained silent forever. And even now, Long after his passing, the stories he pieced together continue to haunt and fascinate, carrying the echo of a people who first learned to write, to dream, and to remember. The haunting phrase, "Before I die, please listen," has spread across corners of the internet with an air of mystery, often presented as the dying words of Samuel Noah Kramer, supposedly a final plea to reveal hidden truths about the Sumerians. The suggestion alone sends chills down the spine. The idea that one of the world's most respected scholars carried a secret too dangerous to share until his final breath. But when we look closer, the story begins to fracture. No credible evidence supports such a claim. No letters, no interviews, no recorded words from Kramer himself. What we find instead is a modern fabrication, the product of a culture hungry for secrets, twisting the legacy of a scholar who spent his life uncovering truth, not concealing it. Sensational titles like this are carefully crafted to spark intrigue. They pair a respected name with emotionally charged phrases like hidden truth, confession, or before I die. The formula is simple: evoke urgency, promise forbidden knowledge, and trade on authority. It's the anatomy of clickbait, a psychological hook designed to pull readers into a story that feels revelatory even when it's hollow. In Kramer's case, there is nothing, no documented statement, no archival trace that suggests any deathbed confession or suppressed discovery about the Sumerians. His published works, personal correspondence, and obituaries make no mention of any secret revelation. The myth thrives not because it's true, but because it feels true in the way myths often do: dramatic, mysterious, and impossible to verify. The roots of this kind of fabrication are easy to trace. When serious scholarship intersects with the internet's taste for mystery, truth often bends. Over time, the careful, grounded work of historians gets mixed with pseudo-historical narratives, those involving aliens, hidden civilizations, or lost technologies. Kramer's name, attached to centuries-old Sumerian myths, became irresistible to those weaving conspiracies around the Anunnaki, deities in Sumerian religion that some claim were extraterrestrial visitors. These modern storytellers borrow his authority, suggesting that he knew more than he revealed, turning his decades of scholarship into supposed evidence of a cover-up. Yet nothing in Kramer's vast bibliography supports such speculation. His writings are rooted in linguistic analysis and archaeology, not mysticism or cosmic conspiracies. As these distortions spread online, they gain new life. A quote invented on a blog can be shared, reposted, and transformed into video evidence within days. Clickbait headlines are copied across websites and social platforms, detached from sources but amplified by algorithms that reward engagement, not accuracy. What begins as fiction becomes, through repetition, digital folklore. For many, the emotional appeal of a suppressed confession outweighs the need for verification. The thrill of possibly uncovering hidden knowledge replaces the discipline of checking facts. The problem is that such myths do more than mislead. They rewrite reputations. By invoking Kramer's name, these claims exploit the respect he earned through a lifetime of scholarship. Within academic circles, Kramer remains revered as one of the most meticulous and influential figures in Assyriology. His reconstructions of Sumerian literature are foundational. His translations are still cited in research today. No serious historian or Assyriologist believes he withheld secret truths about ancient Mesopotamia. His life and career were transparent, his findings public. To turn that legacy into a backdrop for a fabricated final confession is to distort not only his work, but also the spirit of inquiry that defined him. No record exists of any deathbed revelation. Kramer's autobiography, In the World of Sumer, offers a window into his personal and professional journey, his discoveries, setbacks, and reflections, but never even hints at suppressed knowledge. In his later years, after retiring from formal teaching, he remained active in publishing, advising, and collaborating with colleagues. His continuing engagement with open scholarship is fundamentally at odds with the notion of a man hiding a dangerous truth. His intellectual life ended not with secrecy, but with dedication. The contrast between Kramer's real tone and the fabricated ones is stark. His writing is precise, measured, and cautious, filled with footnotes and context. He never overstated what could not be proven. In his studies of Sumerian religion and myth, he acknowledged ambiguity and invited interpretation, but always within the boundaries of evidence. The modern viral claims, on the other hand, thrive on exaggeration. They skip over data, dismiss context, and substitute suspense for substance. Where Kramer sought to illuminate, these stories seek only to thrill. There's a danger in what scholars call name laundering. When unreliable claims are attached to reputable figures, they inherit a false credibility. Over time, audiences unfamiliar with academic standards begin to associate Kramer's name with the very ideas he worked against: unverified speculation and pseudo-history. The result is a warped public understanding of both the scholar and the civilization he studied. This manipulation of trust undermines genuine historical research and feeds into the growing ecosystem of misinformation that blurs the line between scholarship and entertainment. Why then do stories like "Before I die, please listen" continue to resurface? The answer lies in human psychology. People are drawn to secrets. The promise of forbidden knowledge carries a deep emotional pull. Conspiracy narratives give ordinary readers the sense of peering behind the curtain, of seeing what they don't want us to see. It's an intoxicating feeling of empowerment, and in the digital age, it's easier than ever to feed. With just a few keystrokes, anyone can merge fragments of truth with fiction, dress it in the voice of authority, and send it rippling through online networks where it can reach millions overnight. Weak media literacy only magnifies the effect. Many viewers don't pause to verify claims or check the authenticity of sources. If a story invokes a respected academic name and carries emotional weight, it feels trustworthy enough. Algorithms amplify this kind of content because it generates reactions, shock, awe, and anger. And the more it spreads, the more legitimate it appears. Then there's the adaptability of these myths, their chameleon-like ability to shift form. Today, Kramer's final confession might be linked to the Anunnaki, tomorrow, to hidden biblical history, or theories of lost civilizations. The core narrative, a scholar's suppressed revelation, stays the same, while the details evolve to match cultural trends. Each version satisfies a need for wonder and distrust, feeding an appetite for mystery in an age of information overload. Ultimately, these myths persist because they align with what people already want to believe. Once someone accepts the idea that mainstream history hides the truth, any story that reinforces that belief becomes proof in itself. This is the power of confirmation bias, the mind's instinct to protect what it wants to be true. And so, The legend of Samuel Noah Kramer's last confession lives on, not as history, but as a mirror reflecting our own hunger for secrets. The real Kramer didn't whisper mysteries from his deathbed. He left behind something far more powerful, a lifetime of careful study that illuminated the dawn of civilization. His legacy lies not in hidden revelations, but in the enduring light of knowledge, an invitation to listen, not to fantasies, but to the voices of the past he worked so tirelessly to recover. Thank you for staying with me through this deep dive. If you found value in disentangling fact from fiction and want more episodes that press into the real stories behind sensational headlines, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment letting me know what other academic figures or mysteries you'd like me to analyze, and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Let's keep separating the myths from the real history together.